Hey, Lions fans, Dave Birkett from the Detroit Free Press here. Day two of the NFL draft is in the books. And look, the Lions, I think, even though Brad Holmes said he didn't want to be anchored to any positions coming into the draft, I think the way this draft has played out, they had two pretty clear objectives in mind, at least with the way things were on the board. And that is number one, getting better in the trenches. The Lions took Penei Sewell in the first round, big offensive tackle from Oregon. Thought that was a great pick. Obviously, he's the best offensive lineman in the draft. To get him at number 7, to get one of the three best non-quarterbacks in the draft at number 7, that's a great move. And then round 2, you come out with Levi Onwuzurike, the defensive tackle from Washington, with your first pick of the second round, and follow up with another defensive tackle, Aleem McNeil from North Carolina State in round 3. Big adding some beef, positions of need, certainly, and in both aspects. I mean, the Lions needed some help on the right side of their line. And then, we've talked about the lack of I guess, depth, presence, pass rush on the defensive line for years. So it seemed like both of those players fill some needs. And then they come back to defense again in round 3 with Ifeatu Melifonwu, the cornerback from Syracuse, big, long cornerback. So 3 defensive players in round 2, 3 big picks out of the first 4 picks that the Lions had. Again, it seemed like there were some pretty clear objectives from Brad Holmes, the way the board played out. And I have no problem with either of those objectives, right? Getting better in the trenches. I think that's just a staple of the NFL, right? That's how good teams build a lot of times, because so many games start and really are won up front there. And then, number 2 was getting better defensively. And look, the Lions had the worst defense in the NFL last year, the worst in franchise history, most points allowed, most yards allowed in the NFL. And so, even though, I don't know that any of these players are going to be day one starters, maybe Levi Onwuzurike will be, but they needed some more depth and some more players up front that they can see being long-term solutions on this team, because you look at what they've done so far this offseason, and it's been a bunch of one-year deals. And even some of the players that they let go defensively, they didn't replace everyone. I mean, defensively, they brought in Alex Anzalone at linebacker, but really it's Anzalone and Jamie Collins at linebacker, and we're still waiting to see who that third linebacker is. Maybe they've got somebody in mind today. Maybe they are going to roll with Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Up front, you let Danny Shelton go, and I think a guy like Levi Onwuzurike, even though they might use him a little bit different than the old staff used Danny Shelton, he's a guy that could play and play a significant role up front next to Michael Brockers, who, Brockers gives them some versatility. Brockers, of course, being the defensive lineman that they added this offseason. So, and then in the secondary, they signed a couple cornerbacks on one-year deals. Melifonwu, his brother played in the league. There's obviously a shot that he can be, another big cornerback, long-term fixture for this team. Pair him with Jeff Okudah, with Amani Oruwariye. They have some size outside. We'll see if Melifonwu plays some safety too. Brad Holmes was asked that Friday night. He said that he would leave that up to Aubrey Pleasant, to determine how to play these guys. And we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Brad said, especially when it came to Onwuzurike, that was a player that he had targeted. He thought about trading up for him into the back of round 1. Some of his chief lieutenants in the draft room there were telling him to be patient, and he did. And Onwuzurike fell to him early on day 2. So I like the player. I like the fit. I personally would have liked some other players there a little bit more. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker from Notre Dame. I thought the Lions had some options at receivers most of those options are off the board now. But look, to me, that's the biggest need heading into day 3 here is still wide receiver. And I think it's 15 receivers went in the first 3 rounds. But as deep as this draft is at the position, the Lions should be able to get somebody here at the start of day 3. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the USC receiver, is to me, he's the best one on the board. He might not be atop some of those draft rankings that are out there, but I think he'd be a good fit for the Lions. He can play, in the slot. He's got a brother that played in the league, good player. Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State is another guy that's out there that I would think would be a fit for the Lions. Shi Smith. So, the Lions have the 7th pick of day 3. 2 picks left, one in round 4 and one in round 5. And I think it's a pretty safe bet that they get some receiver help just because that position is such a position of need. And then, I pointed this out before. You look at sort of the history of where, the regimes that Brad has been a part of and that John Dorsey has been a part of in Kansas City and Cleveland, and where they took receivers. A lot of them came in round 4. I think they're, between Les Snead, Brad Holmes' old boss in LA, Billy Devaney, I think I included his drafts in there too. When Brad really got, when he first started coming of age as a scout, as a Southeast scout, and John Dorsey, I think they took 17 receivers total, and 6 of them, a third, came in the 4th round. So there's still a sweet spot there for the Lions here on day 3 of the draft. And frankly, I'd be stunned if they didn't hit that position at some point, though. You can look across the roster and say, safety, they could still use some help there. Maybe there's still an opportunity to get someone at linebacker, because I thought linebacker was a big need coming into the draft, still do. So Lions still have some holes to fill, like what they did so far, especially up top. Obviously, I was a big fan of that first pick in getting the best offensive lineman in the draft. Like the players, for the most part, that they picked on day 2, brought some athleticism, some size to the roster, and now it's up to Brad Holmes and his crew to see what we do here on day 3. That's it for me for now. We'll have more after the draft. We'll do a little recap with Carlos and Sean, perhaps on Sunday, recapping everything, but I'll have my thoughts as always. That'll do it for now. Dave Birkett, Freak.com.